and good morning. I've been up for over 2 hours and just waiting for 444 to get here. I could have started probably at 3:33, but I needed more time to just pause and contemplate my subject for today, which the title is 2012, Faith Tried in Lion's Den or Fiery Furnace. For a long time I have vowed to tell the truth as I experience it. Even though there is a strong tendency to color it the way I'd like it to be rather than how it is, truth must win. As my faith is tried and my efforts seem to fall short, I seem to be left with a necessity to trust Divine Providence. I'll bet I'm not alone in this. Don't we all like to be able to see our way out of troubling situations? Indeed, I believe that's true. And when I say the truth as I experience it, the most important person to tell the truth to is me. I realize that I've been given the tendency, as I said, to want to color it the way I'd like it to be. Now, in regard to this whole situation with my home being put up for foreclosure auction or sale next Wednesday, a week from today, I had, up until the last week or so, felt really confident because I had a plan. And I'm not going to go into the details of what that plan is, but taking legal remedies. Now, the most important part of that plan requires me to receive paperwork from an agency that's not located in Florida, and it's been ordered, and I thought it was going to arrive last week. It didn't arrive last week. I thought by Friday at the latest it would be here, so that I would have all this week to work on it. Well, it's Wednesday now, and nothing came yesterday or the day before. I don't know what will happen today. I'm running out of time. And that's what brings up for me all of the anxieties. Because even though I believe that God is able to create miracles, and I go back to my training as a little child, Daniel in the lion's den. He did what he was supposed to do. And they threw him in the den with the hungry lions. And the king actually loved Daniel. And the mouths of the lions were shut. There was Daniel sitting in the lion's den praying, and the king was really excited to let him out. And that was a good king. And in the same book, in the book of Daniel, in the Old Testament, in the Bible, there were 3 Hebrew children that wouldn't follow the king's orders. And this king was indignant and had put the fire hotter than usual and throw the 3 Hebrew children into the fiery furnace. And he looked in and he says, "Didn't we put 3 in? There's a 4th one walking. And the 4th one has the form as the Son of Man." Or the Son of God. Divine Providence. And they came out unscathed. Even their clothing was not burned. Now, I don't care if you believe that or disbelieve it. I don't believe if it's myth or fairy tale or whatever. There is an archetypal something that my soul grasps onto and says the divine aspect is able to overcome serious obstacles. And yet in my life, there have been times that it didn't appear that way. And that's my truth. That's my experience. If I had more experience where I'd get down to the wire and say, oh my God, look at what you did. And there have been little things like that, but there have been, I can think back to some really big issues where it seemed like my prayer and my faith failed. And that's the truth. That's been my experience, which is why I have such a difficult time when I can't, with my mind, figure out how it's going to work out. When I don't know the answer, when I have to trust on blind faith alone. It puts me in such an uncomfortable position because, honestly, I don't have enough experience of my own to trust answered prayer, to trust myself to be able to create what is needed. Now, I've been trying all along through this whole 6.5 year plus legal process, especially once I got rid of the 2 lawyers. When I've been on my own, I've been trying to do everything lawfully, finding out what the law is. As I said in one of the videos, or maybe more than one, I actually won my case, or at least felt I won my case, in June of 2010. I thought the whole thing was over. I mean, the judge removed it from the docket. I had issued my final sovereign judgment, and it went uncontested. And in fact, not only uncontested, 1 week to the day after I had filed it, 1 week to the day, the judge ordered the case sealed and removed from the docket. Or didn't order it sealed, it was removed from the docket. Continuance and removed from the docket. And for the whole rest of 2010, the beginning part, the first 3 months or so of 2011, nothing happened. Nothing happened at all. There was no threat of my house. They were proceeding to try to sell the other property, the trust property, which that, by the way, is where the mortgage is on. There's never been a mortgage on my home. Never. Never been a foreclosure hearing. I've told you that. And that's the truth. This home has never been attached to any contract whatsoever. The banks have no business messing here. They've been trying to attach this property to the other contract, to the other mortgage, which couldn't be fulfilled because the lawsuit prevented me from selling the other property, which was my responsibility to do. But because of the lawsuit, when people made offers, $870,000 and $850,000, I had to tell them, look, there's a lawsuit going on. And they withdrew the offers, and I don't blame them. The lawsuit prevented me from fulfilling my responsibility to sell the property and distribute the income to myself and to the Shriners Crippled Children's Hospital, or Shriners Hospitals for Children, and $50,000 to a few other people, $22,000 of which I actually paid out of my own pocket after the thing, before the house was even sold, which was not my responsibility to do. But they needed the money, and I gave them sort of an advance on what they were going to be receiving. And then, of course, the lawyers ate up more money. I mean, I lost at least $200,000 because of this lawsuit. And here I am. Last year, again, for those of you that remember, they came after me. I think it was April. I think it was April that they came after me, started coming after me again. And I had received an email, which I wish I could go back and look at that email, but all my email records were destroyed, lost when my computer crashed in the beginning of September. Anyway, I received an email from a lawyer who had watched one of my videos, and she sort of threatened me that I was treading on dangerous ground. And then, not very long after that, everything, I mean, the threat started, we're going to take your home. And they actually got the judge's order to accept a copy, an admitted copy of paperwork, which they had admitted previously that they had lost the original, which is not true, but that's what they say. And the judge allowed them to use a copy to reestablish the claim, but the claim was never on this house. Although from the lawyer's point of view, we're going to attach this house because you took out that mortgage or that bridge loan. Yes, it was taken out on the other property, but you used the money from that to purchase the home you're living in. So therefore, the home you're living in is what we're really going to go after. That's their legal argument. My legal argument is the whole loan was fraudulent, and even the other lawyers involved in the case were pointing out the same thing of the mistakes that the mortgage company made way back in the beginning, and they were saying it's invalid, but for totally different reasons than I was saying. I was saying, as I've always said, all mortgages, commercial mortgages, are fraudulent and invalid because they don't disclose all of the terms. They don't tell you, first of all, they don't give you anything for the mortgage. You give them an asset, namely the paperwork that you sign. That note is actually money. It's actually a negotiable instrument worth at least 10 times its face value. So I gave them, for $250,000 bridge loan, I gave them $2.5 million at least, with fractional reserve banking of 10 times. So that asset became $2.5 million. They got their money immediately. And then they wanted me to pay it back. Now, I would have paid it back had there been no lawsuit. I would have taken the first offer of $870,000, and I would have paid the Shriners their portion, paid off the rest of the money, the other $28,000 that I owed to the other people, and I would have kept the rest, which would have given me a couple $100,000 in my pocket. But I couldn't do that. So I'm giving you more of the detail. But anyway, with all of the remedies that I've used, even the remedy of filing an appeal, the lawyer sent me, again, personal emails, I'm going to stop the appeal. And she made 2 motions to stop the appeal, and the court denied her motions both times. But she, that lawyer, that attorney, never even filed her own brief. And then the appeal court allowed the judge that I was contesting and his decision, his ruling, I forget what it's called, it doesn't matter. I was contesting his ruling, and they allowed him to write the opinion which they concurred upon. Now, and never even making the other parties in the appeal present any brief at all. They didn't present any brief, none. So I never even presented my final brief before they made the ruling and closed the case from the appeal. And then, again, the next thing I know, they move right away to sell my house. That's in December last year. And I filed the paperwork, the writ of mandamus. It went to the U.S. Supreme Court, the Florida Supreme Court, and the U.S. District Court, all of which sent me back and said, you didn't dot your I's and cross your T's in the right way. Now, that's not exactly how they put it, of course. But they all rejected the writ of mandamus, putting their stamp on it, which they are required to do by law. And I've tried to do this lawfully. Now, on top of the fact that the paperwork didn't come in for me to do this other step, which it still hasn't arrived, as I said earlier. On top of that, I put out the word that I needed help. And all of these people have been sending me all of this information. They're telling me to, I'm not even going to go into the details, but I'm getting a whole bunch of different information that's pulling me this way and pulling me this way and pulling me this way, leaving me totally unsettled in which steps I'm supposed to take. I'm getting advice, and I appreciate the advice. And it's not all the same advice, although there are two people that have come up with pretty much the same thing. So that's two witnesses that said, you need to do this and you need to do it quickly, which means I've got to do it by Friday, which is only 2 more days away. And it's not a step that I want to take. I don't even want to go there. And the other step, which I've gotten actually more than a couple of people over the time have said that I needed to do this. I need to be the plaintiff and bring a lawsuit against these people. And I've tried to avoid that because I operate in grace, and I want to give even the lawyers a chance to do the right thing without attacking them back. But I'm feeling like there's not going to be any other option unless God intervenes some way and brings this corrupt system to a screeching halt. And because all of the foreclosures in this country need to be stopped, all of them. All of them. The only foreclosures that are valid are ones where there is a private mortgage, where it's a personally held mortgage. And in that case, there's validity to it. But in the case of the commercial stuff, it's total fraud. And they've been fraud forever. I mean, they've been doing this fraudulently for at least the last 100 years. I don't know about before that, but from the Federal Reserve's time, they've been operating, their whole system is fraud. Their whole system, the whole financial system of the world is fraudulent. It's fraudulent. And this is part of my frustration. So my faith is being tried as this deadline, and people said don't use the word deadline, as this date, a week from today, the 15th of February, comes up. The threat is they're going to sell my home right out from under me. They have no lawful right. They think they have a legal right because they have a judge's order. And that judge's order now from way back last year, what was it, May, I think, or something, yeah. End of April, beginning of May, I don't remember the exact time, but sometime when they reopened all this stuff, and they were going to sell my home last year in June, and of course that didn't happen because of the appeal. But now I'm coming up against the wire, and my ace in the hole, the thing that I thought was the most powerful remedy, I can't complete the process because I'm waiting for paperwork to come from a governmental agency in a different state that will allow me to follow through on that. And at some point when this is all over, I'll say what some of these things are. But I'm sure that the lawyers or the attorneys listen to me because I have evidence that they've responded to some of my videos. So I'm giving them information, and I don't want to give them too much information. But there are a couple of other things one other thing especially that I might just have to do this week to stop this thing dead in its tracks, at least postpone it again, which I'd like it just off my back completely. But I'm probably going to have to bring suit for damages against the lawyer, against the attorney, against the bank and the bank CEO, PNC Bank. I'm going to have to do that, apparently. So, folks, I'm sharing with you my truth and giving you as much of the story as I can in a nutshell, so that when you pray for me tomorrow, or you can pray for me anytime, but they have a special thing with over 100 people, I guess, now signed up to pray at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, p.m. tomorrow evening. And I'll be joining for for a 15-minute window there, and we'll be focusing on a resolution that works, so that I can be delivered from the lion's den and the fiery furnace. Thank you for listening. Namaste.